So we obviously bombed Syria, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
I think it's amazing, and let's actually play some of the things here from one of the former State Department officials who is defending the airstrike, because I kind of want to see what it was. Here we go.
Insulting is this, David, at a time when the overweening threat to the country clearly is China, by every measurement possible. We're energy independent. We don't need to focus on the Middle East. And yet we're still wasting the time of the U.S. military, the attention of our
unbelievably British looking.
He's not, though. He's actually not. He
just has one of those, like, British faces.
Yeah.
Tanks. The public's precious attention span on the Middle East and Syria. Tell me why this is wise.
Well, let me give you some perspective. First of all, President Trump did an airstrike.
I expected to hear from that boy.
Let me give you some perspective.
I mean, that's like, I was literally waiting to hear, "Hello, Tucker, and thanks for having me today. My name is Tom."
In April 2017, he did another one in April 2018, and another in December 2019, and for all three, they were justified and proportional. I spoke about them, I wrote about them, I supported them. To your credit, you were against all of them, so we've both been consistent. But we have a divide here. It's really not...
Yeah, no, I wasn't happy. Let me be clear here. I wasn't happy when Trump did it either. So don't think that I was.
Not about Syria policy and the details of Syria and what's happening in Syria and Iraq. It's really about what should America's role in the world be. I happen to think that we can continue to project power abroad and that we have to have our diplomats.
But why does projecting power always involve killing a bunch of people?
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure people know at this point that we can kill them.
How many nukes do we have? We have enough to end the world 30 times over. That's pretty powerful. We don't need to be fucking bombing weddings to prove how, hey, did you see that fucking wedding? Look how powerful we are.
Hey, Mr. President, hear me out on this. Could you do it? Could you just do it? Launch them all, man. Just launch them all. Let's just go.
Is this my ice cream button?
No, Joe, there's no ice cream button.
Uh-oh.
This is my ice cream button. It's not because you get it with the ice cream. Joe, you just nuked Beijing.
And soldiers stationed in places
abroad. You just killed our bosses, Joe. You just killed our bosses in Beijing.
And then all of a sudden you see them go, oh my God, we're free.
You just nuked the Chinese. Oh my God, we are so fired.
In order to do that. And when they get attacked, as they did on February 15th in northern Iraq by Shia militias, it's appropriate for us to respond as Biden did, just as Trump did in December 2019.
Wait, may I say, and leaving aside, and I'll even gloss over your claim that it was justified. Of course, the State Department lied about the pretext for the first missile strike. But leaving
when has the State Department ever lied?
Literally every Benghazi.
Okay, one thing. You can't name like another thing the State Department ever lied about in this country.
War on terror.
Two things. But if you name a third thing, maybe I'll be on your side.
Aside, China is humiliating the United States globally. It is colonizing the entire continent of Africa and the Caribbean right at our shores. It is humiliating American diplomats by giving them unnecessary rectal swabs.
Did you see that? So there was American diplomats in China, and China convinced them that the only test they would accept for a COVID test was a rectal swab, and they gave rectal swabs to American diplomats. That's a true fact. It's a real thing. You can look it up for yourself. This is not something that people are making up. This is real. They're sticking Q-tips up our diplomats' assholes. China's projecting power without bombing us.
Okay, I got to do pee hole next.
What?
Got to stick Q-tip up pee hole.
Threat to the entire globe, and we do nothing. When a Syrian militia lobs rockets into Iraq, we pounce. This is a question of focus. You can't fix every problem. Why aren't we focusing on the real problem? Why are we wasting time in the Middle East?
Well, I happen to think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So
yeah, but in this case, we're walking and bombing weddings. It's a little different than chewing gum.
Yeah,
we can deal with the Middle East.
It's a little bit different than speaking softly and carrying a big stick.
Yeah.
It's just sodomizing everyone in the Middle East with the stick.
Yeah.
and we can also deal with China. And I do agree with you that China is really our biggest rival, especially going forward. But right now, China isn't supporting groups that are directly firing rockets at our personnel. So we have to respond.
No, they're just undermining us in literally
Thank you.
every other fucking form they can.
Thank you.
Cyber attacks, economic warfare, undermining us, undermining our trade, buying off our politicians, spying on us.
Copyrights.
But hey, at least they're not firing. At least they're not throwing rocks at Israeli tanks, bro. Because that would be fucked up. And you know what's great too is he goes, well, yeah, because they're firing rockets at us. Yes, in their own backyard.
Correct.
Like it's not. Look, hey, if some Syrians decided to start firing off Stinger missiles in the middle of fucking New York City, I'd go, hey, you know what?
Fuck them.
Let's get those sons of bitches.
I'm with you.
But this is the equivalent of like when you think about like the castle doctrine and stand your ground and stuff, right? Like I am never going to go after somebody who shoots somebody in their own property. Like somebody gets on your property, there's some kind of situation I don't know about, and there's a fight. And somebody ends up shot. If you're the guy who owns the property, I'm not. Maybe the other guy shouldn't have been there. That's just my philosophy about it.
To that in Syria to protect our personnel, we also should be doing things to prepare for a potential battle for China in the future in the places like you mentioned in Africa where it truly wants to expand and where
we can't have a potential fight with China. We've already lost. That fight should have been a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
We've already fucking lost.
Wants to put its vision of government, a kleptocracy, in place, and we have to fight them not just with our economy, not just with our U.S. aid, and not just with foreign investment, but also with an ideology of democracy and freedom, which is a
see, Mike, let me translate for you. They hate us because of our freedom. I just translated for you.
Where have I heard this one before? That one sounds familiar.
So let me get this straight. China is ruining our country way worse than anything the Middle East could possibly do. But China gets a slap on the wrist, and the Middle East gets fucking bombed. I see. Makes sense.
Countering
who gets it?
The Middle East.
China.
Oh, China. Sorry.
Ideology to the one that China wants to put in place across the world.
We're supine, we're servile, our generals retire and serve China, our largest corporations profit from China, our political class refuses to criticize China. So nothing you're saying has actually happened or going to happen, as we both know. But let me just back up.
Fair enough, Duck.
I love
Fair enough.
He really just blows somebody off.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's great, it's fine. It's not gonna happen. Anyway.
There's literally nothing that shows even a little bit that those things are gonna happen.
To the Middle East because it's the region in question tonight. Why do we have troops in Iraq? We haven't improved Iraq. We haven't improved the United States by keeping there. Why do we think this will be different from every other Middle Eastern country we've been engaged in? All of which wind up worse. We wind up poor. Americans wind up dead.
Are those poppy fields going to protect themselves, Tucker?
Yeah.
I don't fucking think so.
Hey, Tucker, you going to send your kids to pick up a rifle and defend those pedophile Afghani warlords?
Jesus, Tucker, get with it.
Grow up.
Why do we keep doing this?
Well, first of all, we have far less troops in Iraq than we have at most other times in the last.
To be fair, I hadn't finished watching all this. I just watched a little bit of
That's
it.
the line.
But why? Why do we have any,
Why
though?
do we have any?
You want to tell me?
18 years. So I served in Iraq with the State Department 2006.
Don't ask, don't tell.
In 2007, we had 145.
Then there were some problems between 2016 and now, but now I'm back.
I'm back.
Hey. There was a little 4-year gap, though, there where you were allowed to, in fact, ask, and you had to tell.
1,000 troops at the end of 2007. We now have 2,500. So.
Well, okay. Hey, that's fine then.
Hey, how are you doing in Iraq? Were you sucking everyone's cocks? It's just like this, just childish Trump walking around.
You know, a little less than 3% of
why
what
do we have
had
any? No,
back then.
but why do we? No, it's a sincere question. We killed people in Syria, spent a lot of money, focused attention on the country of this. Biden gets to go brag about it because an American contractor apparently was killed there, apparently by an Iran-backed militia. Why was that contractor there in the first place? What are we getting out of it?
Well, there are lots of reasons. First of all, we have troops there to fight ISIS.
Of
yes.
course. It's
And
ISIS, obviously.
Royce, refresh my memory.
Yes.
Who created ISIS?
We did.
Who created the power vacuum?
We did.
And how did that happen?
Well, because we were in the Middle East bombing them.
And we were murdering all their leaders.
Correct.
Leaders like Bashar al-Assad.
And Saddam Hussein.
Well, no, what I'm saying is leaders like Bashar
al-Assad. Yeah.
So the fact that they could just stand here and still say this 20 years later and everybody's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I am so angry about this.
Who armed, well, before it was called ISIS, but who essentially armed ISIS, like when they were fighting Russia?
Well, Jesus, I think everyone sold them shit, but mostly us in Israel.
Yeah.
But a little bit of Saudi Arabia in there, a little Russia, little everybody.
Everything in that jambalaya of misery.
But it's like we create these groups, and then we're like, we got to stop these groups, and you're like, but we made the group by being there in the first place.
Yeah.
And ISIS is still in northern Iraq and in Syria. And
but how does it affect us? Fine. We created it. Whoops-a-daisy. I get it. Whoops. We created an international terrorist organization. My bad. But again, ISIS ain't going to do shit to us. At least not. Look, the effect that ISIS could have on this country is not even remotely close to the effect China's currently having on this country.
ISIS is an existential threat
How?
to the U.S., to our interests. It can strike at Americans. It's also an existential threat to our way of life, to rule of law.
Hold on, slow down. How is ISIS an and I'm not putting in a good word for ISIS here, obviously. But existential means to threaten the existence of something. An existential threat is something that threatens to end you. How does ISIS pose an existential threat to the United States?
Because ISIS in 2014 and 2015 set up an Islamic caliphate that had as its stated
goal. So 5-6 years ago, they were a threat.
But even when they set that up, they weren't a threat.
But my point being, they don't even have that now. It would be like, this would be like if somebody was just paranoid. Imagine if Trump for 4 years was just like, we got to keep an eye on those Japs. Those sons of bitches are the biggest existential threat to America. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. And everybody's going, that was 70 years ago. Yeah, but you know, they tried to set up an empire 60 years ago. And the Germans, too. We got to keep an eye on the Germans. Like, these are such old beefs. And again, going back to my original point, beefs that we created. Beefs like groups that we created.
Goal to take over the Middle East and Europe. They had plans at one time to try and attack Italy. They killed many Americans.
All right, well, you know what? I've had plans before, you know. I had plans to open up my own restaurant. You know, things don't always happen, though. You know what I mean? Like, people, I'm sure people have before said, you know what, I'm going to open up an auto body shop. And maybe things didn't work out that way in life. I love that he's like, they had plans. Everyone has some kind of plan, sir. Most of them don't happen.
I'm sorry.
They took thousands of people.
I'm not flacking for ISIS. I'm just saying, when you say they pose, I mean, let's use words carefully because we're talking about human lives and American policy.
I love that Tucker will completely shut down people's propaganda.
Yeah.
Like by examining the words themselves. No, existential. Like, do you know what that even means? Like, he's really challenging this guy in a way where it's like, well, yeah, and now dude, stop being so hysterical. Like, if you want to say they're a threat, say they're a threat. Stop being hysterical, because they do that. They go on TV and they go, they're the single biggest existential threat to America. And people go, I guess we'll just bomb Syria then. And Tucker's the only one going, okay, but how though? But why though?
They can't even get along with each other. You're making it seem like, look, you want to talk about a military that's fucking lock and step, like Chinese military, right? Like, those motherfuckers are shoulder to shoulder, don't miss a step. And when they tell them, you do this, you do this. ISIS doesn't get along with other groups in ISIS. It's scattered. They're not going to do any. They are not organized enough to take over a country. What are they going to show up in their Toyota pickup trucks into fucking Rome and just take it over? I doubt it. I fucking doubt it.
I would literally feel better, and I know this sounds fucked up, because I know we should always want to be anti-war, but to be honest, like there are. I would feel better if we were using all this rhetoric against China. If we were gearing up to fight China, which, by the way, would be one of those fights that you go, this is scary. Because we haven't had a scary war in a long time. Like, the whole Middle Eastern war was a fucking jerk-off. Like, I know people got hurt and killed and stuff, but when you think about that compared to, like, young men getting off the boats at Normandy and just getting mowed down, and, like, it's... We haven't had a real war since, like, World War II, Vietnam, those eras. So, like, trust me, if we were going to go fight China, I would go, Jesus, man, this is scary. But I would still feel better about it than I do fighting Syria and fighting these little shit countries that have done nothing to us. Because they're at least, you'd be able to justify to me why we're going to fight China. You could at least tell me. Because of all the things Tucker just named earlier, all of those things, buying up land in the Caribbean and Africa, taking over all this shit, buying out our companies, buying out our politicians, like, I'd go, okay, let's fight China. But we're like, yo, man, you see those little pricks over there? And you're like, wait, Syria? You want to fight Syria? Why? He's not doing anything. The only thing Assad doesn't do is suck our dicks. It's the only thing he doesn't do.
That's all it is.
He just doesn't bow and grovel and suck our dicks, and we're like, we need to clearly kill this guy.
They're not an existential threat to the United States. There's only one country that's an existential threat.
Way,
There's only one.
Somebody in the chat has a great point. The Syrian army has killed more ISIS than we have.
That's a fucking thank you. You're right.
Oh, no.
That's true. That's actually
accurate.
true.
Between them and Russia.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we're over there fighting ISIS, and Russia and Syria, like, you're just getting in our way.
Leave.
You're blowing our things up. Can you just leave?
Here. They're not an existential threat to the United States. There's only one country that's an existential threat. There's only one country that can make my family obey, and that's China, as you well know.
I'm sorry, Tucker, what?
With two countries.
But I can't. Every time he says, I can't hear when people say that word. It's weird.
China.
Oh, he's talking about China.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I know everybody in foreign policy world was trained, like a previous generation was trained to focus on Russia, the next on the Middle East. Why can't we wake up and face the actual threats right in our face rather than refighting wars that we've lost?
Ooh. Tucker literally, good for him. He finally said what nobody was saying is, we lost the war. We lost. And nobody, it's like, you know how many years it took for people to finally say, hey, we kind of lost Vietnam, right? It took a while. It wasn't right away, right? It was, some people were saying it, but it wasn't, but it took a while for everyone to go, hey man, we lost Vietnam, right? Like, we lost that war.
We're like Randy Marshall beat up in the parking lot going, I didn't hear any bell.
Yes, exactly.
But you can't possibly be saying that we should only focus on one threat.
But we're not focusing on it. It's again, what? Name one thing that fucking Joe Biden's administration is doing that is focusing on China. We caught one of their spies literally fucking somebody in our intelligence agency. And the Congress people said, Pelosi was like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. We caught them. We fucking caught an intelligence agent. Fucking somebody. And no, it's fine. That's a problem. There wasn't an undercover ISIS agent fucking Ted Cruz.
And ignore all of the others. ISIS is a threat. It kidnapped thousands of people.
He's got a point. He has a point.
Oh, fuck.
Washington, D.C. is filled with homeless people and garbage on the streets. Like, we're not good at fixing stuff. So, like, actually, we don't have the bandwidth to fix the world. And by the way, can you name one city in the United States, the Democratic Party? I don't want to be partisan or anything. I'm just being honest. This is a war cheered on by Democrats. Name one city in the United States they've improved. Just one. Go ahead. I'll wait.
My hometown, Cincinnati. It's run by Democrats.
Huh. That's a pretty nice town, I got to say. Okay, I'll give you Cincinnati.
It's not.
I can't think of any others.
Thank you.
It's not a nice town.
Cincinnati. How was Cincinnati improved?
It's never been a nice town.
Cincinnati's not even the best city in the state.
It's actually, you're absolutely right. That is a nice city, not a very left-wing city. But we have dozens of other cities that are actually crumbling. We have a country that's on the verge of some kind of economic event that probably won't be welcomed by most people. We have a country that's getting poorer, and yet this is like the thing that Biden does on his 36th day in office?
But we don't have to give up foreign policy in order to improve our domestic policy. We can do both at the same time.
But we're doing both poorly.
Neither. Yeah, we're doing neither well.
But neither one of them's working.
So, like, my whole thing in life is, and this is something that would serve a lot of people well, if you're doing 2, 3, 4 things all at the same time, and you find that you're doing all of them poorly, then dial it back. Cut one thing out, maybe do 3 things at once, or 2, or maybe even focus on one thing at a time. If you try to do too many things at once, you do them poorly. And he's right. We've been neglecting this country for years, and we're too busy fighting for Israel and bending over and giving our assholes to China.
We're America. We have the resources, the know-how, the talent to do that.
Is Iraq better? Is Afghanistan better? Is Libya better? Is Yemen better? Is any country in that entire region better for our intervention in it?
Well, the problems in these countries, pre-existed American intervention.
So then, why? So by the way, he's roundabout saying no. It's actually worse. So if the problems pre-existed America, why are we in there trying to fix it? And it didn't, because we caused a lot of it. And yes, there were problems before we were there, absolutely. But go look at Iraq in the fucking 50s. Men were wearing fucking suits and women were fucking driving around in Chevys going to the hop. And now they're all fucking throwing rocks at each other like cavemen.
American intervention didn't always improve or make things better. But
this time it will. This time it's going to be different.
Interventions by
I'll be
colonial
honest,
power.
I can't get over the fact that he said Cincinnati's nice. Tucker's now lost all credibility with me. It's all out the window.
Cincinnati's terrible.
Everything he said up to this point, I've loved, but I'm done with you. I'm writing Tucker off now.
As the UK, France.
He would have actually been way more based and got way more points from me if he went, "Oh, Cincinnati," and Tucker was like, "What, Cincinnati? Jesus, I don't even take layovers in Cincinnati."
I will fly 3 extra hours to not even have to stop there for one.
Exactly. You know what? Can we just? Is there a Cleveland layover? Can we do that instead?
Didn't always make it
then
better.
Why are we doing
but some
it?
of these problems would have existed without us being there.
Okay.
Then you're admitting that there's no need for us to be there.
Yeah.
What we should all be moving toward is improving all of the world, including the
Why?
Middle East.
Why?
Why is it our job?
Why?
Why is it our job?
Like fucking Tucker said, we can't even get our own country to be nice, and clean up. Like he said, Baltimore is falling apart. Detroit's falling apart. All these cities are falling apart, and then it's like imagine if you were just like, I'm just trying to think of this. Like if you were just homeless and living in a cardboard box. But you're telling somebody else, like, yeah, dude, I can make your house look so dope. Like, just trust me here. It's what track record do we have to show people to go, look at how good we are. Like, look at this. I would understand if the people that run Dubai or
yeah.
You know what I mean? Some of these, like, people that have, like...
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, like one of these, like, utopian, beautiful places. And they're like, or even the Japanese. If we said, look, we're going to let the Japanese run... all of the municipal services here in Syria because you guys are bad at it. I'd go, well, yeah, they have a great track record. Look at them, very high population. They still manage to kind of coexist with Mother Earth, but they still have these beautiful cities. Their shit runs really well. Look what they did with COVID. Let the Japanese run it. But we're like these just fat drunk retards that are like, I'll do it. I'll fix everything. And it's like, no, you won't. You're going to make it worse.
But it's exactly right. It's like instead of choosing to hire a licensed contract that's going to cost you more, America's the one you hire from Craigslist, who's going to show up to your house with a fucking go, hey, do you have a hammer?
It's like being hammered drunk and going, I'll drive the bus. I've got it under control. You just let me do it. And
no.
You're like, no, we're not letting you drive a giant bus. Thank you. Or no, actually, in America's case, it's that analogy doesn't even work. It's like me being drunk, demanding the keys from the bus, but I've already crashed the bus like 6 times. At this point, you're like, we're not giving you the keys the 7th time.
And so, JB's got a good point. Cincinnati puts chili on their spaghetti. That place is terrible.
Oh, God, that's right.
That's right, yep.
By the way, El Savage says more people died in Chicago last weekend than people because of Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah, Syrians have killed less people this week than local Chicago natives.
But the Middle East does affect us. It affects our economic security.
How?
It affects our energy policy.
How?
And it affects, most importantly, our security. As you know, Al-Qaeda came out of Afghanistan. ISIS came out of Syria and Iraq.
Right. I can only take one overstatement at a time, so I'll end with this one. You say it affects our energy policy. For generations that I lived here then, we were told we were only enmeshed in the Middle East because we were dependent upon their oil. We needed their energy. Now we don't. We're energy independent. The same people who told us that are trying to prevent us from using our own reserves, domestic reserves of energy, and again make us
Tucker, as Mersh stated at the beginning of the show, the president doesn't control the gas prices.
He doesn't control the price of oil.
You dummy.
He just signs executive orders banning fracking and shutting down pipelines.
You know what had happened? He was staying at one of those beautiful resorts in Cincinnati this week, and he's just all loopy still.
Yeah, that's what it is, man. I don't know if you know this, but Cincinnati, a lot of people don't know, is just like, what was that planet from Star Trek?
Oh, Risa. Yeah.
It's paradise. You go there, you sit by the pool.
Dependent on other nations, whether it's China for clean.
I'm sorry, what, Tucker?
China.
That's better.
Energy technology, or the Middle East for petro energy. And I'm a little confused by that. Why shouldn't we take a victory lap and say we can heat our own homes, we can fuel our own cars, we don't need you?
It is great that we are energy independent, and that is something that is going to improve our security, and it's something that the Middle East has taken notice of. They realize that we're not going to depend on their oil forever. The rest of the world is not going to depend on their oil forever.
We don't need to depend on it now.
But their oil still does impact the economic markets.
But why would it affect ours if we're not buying any from them?
Yeah, why would it affect well, it's OPEC and all that stuff. But
if there's one guy who's selling weed at a rip-off price and another guy who's selling weed at a good price, the guy selling the rip-off weed, he doesn't affect me because I don't go to him. So he can sell all the rip-off weed he wants, but if I'm not going to him, it doesn't. Now you're basically pointing out that it's the international markets. Mm-hmm. It'll affect the international markets because we've become this weird globalist, like everybody's all dependent on each other now. That's why when one market crashes, they all crash. It's terrible. Our system is terrible.
Important. The flow of that oil is still important, and if economic markets that depend on it in Europe, in Africa, in Asia lost it, or it went up so much that it increased prices and made it harder for them to buy American products, it would impact our economy as well.
Well, you know what we could do that would be, just my opinion here, that we wouldn't have to worry about those prices is we could fucking tell OPEC and we could just say, hey, we don't have to listen to you. We don't feel like it. We're just gonna we're gonna use our own oil and we're gonna set our own prices for American oil. Sorry.
We're gonna buy oil. We're gonna buy oil from this hang on, what's this, am I pronouncing this right? Alaska?
Yeah, no, I heard you could see Russia from there.
We're gonna get from that place.
Yeah, so fuck you. That's the whole reason we even got Alaska. You think we want Alaska? Alaska fucking sucks. But the reason we got Alaska so we could get their fucking oil.
We got Alaska during that last purchase of territories where they were like, and we'll throw in Alaska.
And you're like, all right.
So we don't want to even go up there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why we have that state. Specifically for this reason.
The whole economy is interdependent, and Middle East oil is part of that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not convinced that anyone is thinking about it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Sure.